Ah, feels good to be back with my stats.
With your stats.
Feels
I
even
love it.
feels even better when it's on a giant screen, so I can see it from far away. So I wanted to just. This is something that I found interesting because you mentioned it like 2 weeks ago, and I've been trying to play it out in my head and see how it will work out. So I wanted to get some stats for you guys because I think that stats are important for us to understand what we're talking about. So I wanted to get some key statistics around workplace accountability. And a study by Culture Partners found that 84% of employees believe leadership behavior is the most influential factor in organizational accountability. However, only 15% of leaders have clearly defined and communicated their key results, indicating a disconnect between leadership intentions and actions.
Wow.
It's intriguing how it falls on the leaders.
You know, Vic, I want you to go back and read that stats.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say about leadership?
84% of employees believe leadership behavior is the most influential factor in organizational accountability.
Yeah, and then leadership?
However, only 15% of leaders have clearly defined and communicated their key results, indicating a disconnect between leadership intentions and actions.
So, this is my opinion.
Yes.
Okay, completely my opinion. But in my experience, most leaders don't report back their stats, as it says there, 15%.
Yeah.
Because they are not clear on what they are holding people accountable to. So they have no idea what they should be holding their employees to. So I need you to sell.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll use Michaela as an example. I need Michaela to go out and sell. So go out and sell. Okay, now what am I holding her accountable to?
Selling.
But no, in order to hold, selling is the result that I want.
Yes.
Okay, I need to hold her accountable to what she promises to deliver.
Okay.
So she needs to be making sales calls. She needs to be going and cold calling. She needs to be doing book drops.
Yes.
Okay, and then she needs to be doing follow-ups.
Yeah.
So that is 4 very distinct things that as a leader, I need to hold her accountable to in order to get the result of sales.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I am not clear on what her deliverables are, I can't hold her accountable. And that is why there is a disconnect between sales people and leadership, or leadership and employees.
Yeah.
Because they are not clear on what the employee is accountable for.
You know, it's interesting because we have a post out now where Barry is talking about employment contracts in the CCMA, right? Would that not be? Isn't that so? Just to understand what you're saying and hope people are watching, is that if I come and I'm going to work for the organization, you're going to give me a contract.
Yes.
A contract is going to be valid for 3 months, which is my probation period.
Correct.
Within that, I have things that I need to do. I have deliverables. That's what you're holding me accountable to.
Correct.
It's not, you're not going to, because I feel like this is where probably people get it confused, right? Is that once you get employed, it's like your employment contract goes out the window unless it's time for me to talk about my salary.
Correct.
And like most people just don't hold themselves accountable to what they're supposed to be.
No, and then they go out of exchange.
Before we delve into that, hello.
I was going to say.
I was wondering, I could
You could hear my voice.
I could hear the voice graying, and I'm like, why are you answering me in one word? Oh, you want me to do the intro? Hello, everybody. And welcome to the Uncovering Greatness podcast. As always, I am your host, Sully, and today I am joined by Nicole Mitchell. Nicole is the lead and only processor at Uncovering Greatness. Practice, guys. We must practice. And what she does is she helps you get out of the way of you. So that you can be more, do more, and have more in this life. What are you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm just going to correct you. Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm not the only processor at Uncommon Greatness.
Who else is a processor?
Barry's a processor.
Really?
Yeah, he just does it differently to me. He processes the whole room. And
No, that's he said it. That's not processing. Crazy.
it is. It's running a process.
That's a massive. Can't run a process on 40 people at once.
He does.
That's crazy. But that is true. But don't tell him that, because then he's like, I hope he doesn't watch this, because he's gonna say he doesn't need to process. But process himself.
But anyways, we are all processors, actually.
Yes. Oh, you see, this is not the topic.
But this is not the
You're
topic.
You're going to drive me down again.
We all process people in certain ways, and I'll use the example of, and I'll use the topic we're discussing, exchange and accountability. So I can come in a really use my power and go, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you do X? You know, you were supposed to make 20 calls. Or I can come in and I can say, hey, Suleman, I know it was a long weekend. You were supposed to make 20 calls last week. What happened?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm asking the same. I'm trying to get to the same result, is why haven't you made your calls?
Yes.
Okay. But one is running a very positive process on you, and two is running a negative process on you.
Would you say it's easier to hold people accountable when you go with a positive approach? Because that's very interesting, because I would imagine that I don't think that either one is wrong depending on the outcome.
Okay, so sometimes
Yes.
Sometimes one is needed more than the other.
100%.
However, most people don't realize which one is needed when.
So they usually just come in with the wrong process.
So often people come in with I need you to make sales because my director is going to crap all over me because we're not going to meet budget this month. So they end up running the wrong process on you because I'm trying to hold you accountable. But I don't actually know what I'm holding you accountable to, except for the fact that I'm going to get crapped on because we haven't met target this month.
But then, would you now say that now we have a cycle of lack of there's no exchange from director to, I don't know, what the CEO or manager, whatever that is, to the salesperson? We all out of exchange.
There's such a lack of exchange in terms of, I believe our whole country's out of exchange, and there's no accountability. So I'll use the example of, I pay my taxes.
Yeah.
I expect the potholes on the road to be fixed because I pay my taxes so that the potholes get fixed.
Yeah, not even potholes anymore.
Oh, there's crates on the road.
Not just down the road, yeah.
So there's an out of exchange there. Is I pay, or the flip side is, why haven't you fixed the potholes, and I haven't paid my taxes?
Okay.
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, of course.
It's not just one way. But typically, I would say, in comparison to a lot of other countries, South Africa in particular is out of exchange, and we see it a lot. But I don't know. I have a lot more experience in South Africa. I would say there's an out of exchange in corporates, for example, worldwide, not just South Africa. CEO drives a Maserati, a Ferrari, and comes in 3 hours every day.
Yeah.
Because he's out playing golf and
busy.
He's busy.
He's networking.
And the employees that are working 27 hours a day.
It's the world we live in now.
The minions that are running around are getting paid next to nothing. And it's understanding what is the exchange. So there is an out of exchange, but it's understanding, do you understand what the out of exchange actually is? Because sometimes it's not, some of those guys that are driving fancy cars and what have you, they deserve those salaries. I'm not going to say all of them.
Yeah, but it's not.
Because as as a generalization, some of them do and some of them don't.
Because it's so you're not saying the whole narrative of what's going around now is tax the rich.
No,
That's
I'm
not the
definitely
narrative.
not saying that.
That's not. Some people are deserving of where they're at. They build massive businesses. They employ a lot of people. People get paid. They're treated well. And then you have the others who are doing whatever they do.
Correct. So it's being clear on what is the exchange. And I think a lot of people don't know what the exchange is.
Yeah.
And they judge without knowing the exchange.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's where we're at, right?
So I'll use the example of let's just say I've got friends that are going on holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And they have just told me that they can't afford to pay for more processing. And I get all upset because now they're going on holiday.
What do you do?
Like, it's not my place to judge them.
Fair, yeah.
Okay. Wow, they're going to Disney World and they're going to Paris and they're going to... And I'm like, only to find out that their holiday wasn't paid for by them.
You don't know what's going. You don't know the exchange.
So their exchange that they have with somebody else, they were gifted the holiday.
They wanted it or whatever.
Or they've got a rich uncle who paid for them to go on holiday or whatever it is.
For sure.
Me too. But it's important to be aware of what is the exchange.
Yeah.
And do you understand the exchange? And do you even know what the exchange is? And so just because somebody says they can't pay you and you see them going on holiday doesn't mean that they are actually paying for the holiday. And a lot of people don't like to be honest because I'm embarrassed to tell you that I'm not paying for the holiday. So they're not, and so
Just
they
keep quiet about it and you make it fester and it
we put photos on Facebook and we do all this stuff, and or you have, for example, directors and the top end of the business scale of corporate, they may have got involved in investments and it's not actually their salary that's paying for the car.
Got you.
They got very clever with money.
Yeah.
And they are using their money to, I'll use this example. I have an investment that should be paying out, I don't know, in the next few months. Let's just say it's 500,000.
Cool.
So this is a made up story.
Tomorrow.
Let's say I've got 500,000 rand coming out of an investment in the next few months.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have a choice. What am I going to do with that money? Okay.
Seems like a lot.
Okay, it seems like a lot of money, but if I go buy a car and I pay 500,000 for the car, I literally am just spending that money.
Yes.
Okay.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Or I can take that money and I can use it to pay off any debt that I may have. So I may have, let's say, have a house and, I don't know, some loans, some credit cards, that sort of thing. I can take that 500,000 and I can use it to pay off debt.
Yeah.
Or I can take that 500,000 and I can say, let me buy an apartment building or put it down as a deposit on an apartment building. Okay. And now the rental that I get from that apartment building or that apartment, that little flat, I then use that to buy a car.
Cool.
And pay for the monthly repayments.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are smart with your money, you can create a lot of exchange for your money.
So your money is not just once off. You can exchange it 4 or 5 times, for example.
Correct. So if I go and invest in an apartment building, okay, I can get the apartment and the car.
It's a once off, so the one offsets the other.
Correct. I'm creating exchange with my money.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is where people don't understand exchange, because they will go and they'll take that money and they'll go spend it. They'll go on a holiday. And then they've got nothing to show for the 500,000 because
You had some pictures. And it's crazy because, like, when you're saying that, I would then feel, this is where people, and I get called the cheapskates a lot, but it's fine. I'll take it. For me, I feel like and yes, experiences and all those types of things are important, but I feel out of exchange with myself, right? Because I've had this nice time, 2-3 days or whatever, but now I don't have the money that I had, which I could have utilized for something else to create more money, to build more. And now it's just a vicious cycle of me being upset with myself.
and then it becomes a whole spiral. But that's a whole different way to look at exchange. And I'll read to you the definition from Alan C. Walter.
Yes.
Definition of exchange. It's to give and receive in a reciprocal manner, to interchange, as in to exchange ideas. To relinquish one thing for another. So I give you something, you give me back. To replace something unsatisfactory with something else. Exchange defective merchandise.
Cool.
4, to provide or transfer goods or services, for example, in return for something of equal value. Okay. And then the term exchange is in itself an actual subject, for in it lies much of man's inability to get along with others. All interpersonal relationships and all national and international relationships are monitored by what is being exchanged. And so, before you go for a wild goose chase, because
That was just a great definition, especially that last part.
it is a great definition, and it starts off small. So if we go back to the very first thing we spoke about was employees and leadership, managers, what have you, is do you have exchange? And exchange starts with that accountability. So what am I holding you accountable to? What do I expect you to deliver on? So in exchange for your salary,
Yes.
you need to do some work. But if I'm not clear on what it is you need to do, I can't hold you accountable. Then the exchange goes out. Then I get pissed off with you and I scream and yell at you because you're not doing what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Which is why so many people land up in the CCMA,
Yeah.
because there is not enough clarity on what the exchange is.
And I feel like employers miss that part a lot, because at the end of the day, the CCMA is always going to be in favor of not always, but like, because there's no clarity, the CCMA usually favors the employee, right? And I feel like, based off what you're saying, if you look at it, I think that, especially nowadays, people think that they are being, so the exchange is, I come to work, you pay me.
Yes.
You're not getting paid for your time.
No, I'm not paying you to come to work.
No, I'm paying you to utilize your skill, whatever your skill is that you have, in exchange for money. You do your skill, your whatever you are qualified to do that, and then I pay you for that.
Yes, and the problem with so many things is we get caught up on the wrong things, or we don't ask the right questions. So if I use the example, my youngest daughter started working her very first job, and she got this wonderful contract, and she signed the contract. She was just so excited that someone was going to pay her money.
Yeah.
But she never got a contract. Okay. And so this is where I say we get focused on the wrong things. So in her mind, I'm getting paid, this is
Mm.
so exciting. And she didn't get a contract.
So technically, you don't have to get paid.
So technically, legally, I'm not a lawyer, so
No, I'm just we just speculate.
we speculate.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't pay you no contract. That's just me.
Thank you for volunteering.
You're such a good person.
So we get so focused on the wrong things. So then eventually she sat down with her boss and said, we don't have a contract. She drew one up. She took ownership and responsibility. She came and sat with us, and she drew one up and she gave it to her boss and said, and he's like, no, I'll draw you up a contract. So he then drew up a contract.
Okay.
And in that contract, it said she gets so many days leave. That's all it said. So she was so excited. She gets, I don't know, whatever it was, 15 or 20 days leave. And she worked over Christmas. And then with the facility that she works at, they closed. And she came back and was so upset because now there was money deducted off of her salary and she couldn't understand why, because suddenly she became aware that it's mandatory leave because the company's closed. She did not know that she had to take leave for those days.
She had to take the leave before the mandatory time.
No, she thought that they were just closed.
Oh, and it doesn't affect me.
It doesn't affect her leave because it's not her fault that the company's closed.
Okay, yeah.
Nobody teaches you this at school.
Nope.
They don't say to you, do you understand how leave works?
Days work, yeah, because that includes public holidays as well. You don't know about. Who's going to tell you that?
You know, and different companies have different rules, and some companies do that. They say, you know, we're going to be closed between Christmas and New Year, and that is a bonus for you. So instead of giving you money,
we're going
to give you the days off. Every company is different, but if you don't know to ask, what happens then, she comes back and she's now all pissed off and we're out of exchange. My boss is ripping me off. And the boss is going, I don't understand what your problem is.
Yeah.
Well, why should I work now? Because he's pissed me off. And which I understand her point of view because she's upset because she didn't know.
And that's the worst part because you didn't know.
She didn't know.
Genuinely just didn't have the information.
She didn't have the information. Nobody told her.
Yeah.
And she didn't know to ask. But now she's all pissed off and now she doesn't want to work she doesn't want to do the hours because she feels like they're out of exchange.
Yep. And
technically, they are out of exchange because her boss did not explain how leave worked to her. And her boss did not have, this is, you know, in their, and a lot of people don't have this in their contracts, or they don't have a welcome to our organization. These are how our procedures work.
Yes. This is what we do. This is what we expect. This is our culture. This is
exactly. Yeah. This is our culture. This is how leave works. This is how this works. This is how that works. You know, so it's just, and most people are too scared to ask.
Yeah. Would you say that? Well, yeah, we're going to sort of be another general statement, but my sense would say to me that there is a part of it where organizations are currently taking advantage of that fact that people aren't going to ask, right? Because people want, especially in this country, our flipping unemployment rates continues to skyrocket. People just want a job. They don't, and like we said in the start, they only care about the salary, that thing that's coming at the end. They're not really focused on leave days, sick days. What's this, the new one, family emergency things. You don't talk about those things. And then all of a sudden you just get deducted at the end of the year because the company closes.
Correct.
And I don't know. And now I'm upset. But for me, I'm kind of like, yeah, I think you should have asked those questions, though. You didn't ask.
And so this is where exchange is such a broad topic. But it's, I then now come to you and say, right, Suli, I need you to go and make calls. And you're like, no, I don't want to make my calls because you screwed me over with my leave days. And now I'm going... And so, and this is where exchange is so important because we underestimate the value of exchange of knowledge for something else.
Yeah.
So people will come in and, you know, there is a huge sense of entitlement in our country. And a lot of that comes from past history, from cultures, from tribal days. It also comes from, you know, wealthy parents that give their kids everything. And then their kids go, well, I've got everything. So they arrive at their job and go, bring.
Yeah.
You know, oh, you know, I have a maid at home, so you must, you know.
Clean it up.
Clean it up. And so it comes from all sorts of places. And it's just, do you understand what you're exchanging for what? So I'll give you an example. And it feels like this topic has gone all over the place.
It's wild.
But I'll use an example of often with clients that can't afford my services. So I will give them a task to do and say, fine, I'm willing to help you, but I need you to do X.
Okay.
So there's a lot of clients that will come and say, or I'll get people, random strangers that will just reach out and say, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, cool, no problem, I'll help you. I need you to do one thing. I need you to read this book. Once you've read the book, come back to me.
Okay.
I must have done that at least more than 100 times. I think out of those 100, I've maybe had 3 that have come back and said, I read the book.
Out of 100?
Yes. Because people want me to do it for them. They're not prepared to invest in themselves. So my exchange with a lot of people is, you invest in you and then I'll invest in you. So you go read the book, and when you've read the book, come back and...
Yeah, I get you.
And that is where, for me, that's the exchange. I don't tell people that.
No, of course. Well,
because...
now you don't know.
Don't worry, the ones that want the stuff for free, I could be watching this anyway.
That's the weirdest part. I hate people so much sometimes. But what you said there is so spot on. I can't attend your event. Okay, here's some free stuff. They don't take it back.
No, because they want you to do it for
Yeah.
them. They're not prepared to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
So it's, why should I invest in you? So like I've had, like, we see it often with corporates. People that corporates that come to a sales explosion, they leave at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
They arrive at 9 and leave at 5.
Yeah.
That's it, done. Entrepreneurs that come, they are happy to stay until 9 o'clock at night.
Oh.
Why? Because the entrepreneurs paid for themselves to be there. There is huge exchange, and they're like, I am willing to invest my time to get as much information out of you as I can.
Yeah.
Whereas corporates go, the people that from corporate, the boss has forced me to come here. I can't believe it. I could be doing something else with my time right now.
Saturday.
It's a Friday afternoon and we normally close. I would be at the gym right now. Instead of going, wow, this is, I'm here to learn. They don't see it as the boss is investing in me. I'm going to invest in me.
Yeah.
They are out of exchange. And so what happens is we give people stuff in exchange and they take it and they don't value it and they give us nothing back. And therefore we go out of exchange.
And one of the companies that we work with, South Africa, Namibia, Zim, Uganda, I think they have 3, 4, they're across Africa. New people have to come to Sales Explosion or do a version of Sales Explosion. They have to, if you're new in the business, you have to go through the Uncovering Greatness process. And if you don't, you're no longer on the team. You basically have to go find another job or whatever it is. And I found that fascinating because I was like, man, I don't know if I'd be able to agree with that. But as time went on, I started to understand it because it's exchange, right? So we're willing to invest in you to firstly get on the same page as what everybody else is on. Now we're all on the same page. We are now in exchange. And secondly, I get to see how you play the game. If you are going to rock up at 9 and leave at 5, yeah, you're not going to go above and beyond when it's time for us to deliver on a project that we need to get done today, but you telling me about 5 o'clock. And I think that that's such an interesting thing that people miss about how much business owners and entrepreneurs actually invest in their people, and the people just throw it away. I mean, we've seen it so many times.
But also then it becomes very challenging for me to hold you accountable if you don't understand what the exchange is. And so I can't hold you accountable on those days where suddenly you have to work a little bit harder and stay 2 hours later because you weren't prepared to learn our culture.
Yeah. True story.
And so, our culture is when you invest, I'll invest in you and I'll give you a morning off to go to your kids'
Whatever you got.
recital at school, or, I'm not going to deduct leave for when you go to the doctor, or that sort of thing. It's just understanding those kind of things.
Oh, you just unpacked a whole new thing there. But that is such a great point.
So, like in our organization, one of the things that we are, I say, very bad at is holding people accountable for things like leave days. I mean, I know the first time Michaela had to fill in a leave slip, she said, "Do we even have one of those?" And I was like,
I remember that.
"Yes, we do."
I remember that conversation.
I will get it printed for you right now. And then I had to go leave forms. I was like, I need to go find one online because we don't have leave forms. We've been operating for 20 years and we don't have leave forms. But why? Because the culture in our organization is we work Saturdays. We, often we'll work weekends. We'll work long hours. But then no problem on a Wednesday morning, you
got X to do.
You've got X to do. You can go and do it. You've got doctors thing. And so we've always operated on exchange, but we haven't been deliberate around it.
Yeah, but even though it wasn't like written down or anything like that, I think that there was still a clear understanding of the exchange.
Correct.
Right? Like you can't not just disappear for a week, for example. You have to communicate. Hey, you never had to maybe fill out a leave form, but you needed to say, hey guys, I'm not going to be in for the next week. And I'm not going to be working I'm doing A, B, C, D, E. And the funny thing is, I don't think that anybody's ever been questioned on what you were doing.
No.
Or what you need to do.
And you see, the reason for that is because we had the same people. Now we've started bringing new people in. We have to be clear on what our culture is.
For sure.
Because as those new people come in, they're like, oh, Sully's off. They don't see that 3 months ago, Sully did 10 days back to back.
Yeah.
For 20-hour days.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, you've just come in, so you're not seeing it, you have no real understanding of it. But if it's written down, for example, then we can all be clear on where we're at.
Correct. Yeah. And that's where now it is important we have leave slips so that new people can go, oh, there's a leave slip. I want to be off. Okay. And now we start keeping track. Why? Because previously it didn't matter if we kept track, because as a small team, we understood each other and we kept track of our own stuff. But as we've got bigger, we now need to make sure that we hold people accountable. Why? Because we cannot afford to have people taking advantage.
Yeah.
Because why? It affects the whole team. And that's where, as leadership, it's important for me as a leader to put in leave slips so that we can hold everyone accountable, because it's not the team that we're worried about, because the people that know the rules know the rules. It's the new person coming in that doesn't know the rules.
Yeah.
And so we have to put in those things that this is what you need to be accountable for.
And you gotta do your best to try and keep the accountability as high as you can, right? Because especially with new people coming in, if I'm a new person and I'm seeing, Michaela's taking that day off, this is weird. All of a sudden I'm feeling some type of way, and I'm like, okay, so we can basically just take off when we want to take off, or oh no, it's because she's the boss's daughter. Then it becomes a whole,
and it opens up all sorts of things.
Whereas you don't understand our culture, you don't understand how we built it, and we're not, in all honesty, we're not going to sit down and explain the culture to you. It's easier to say, here is how we do what we do. Here's the form.
Fill it out.
Fill it out. Are you happy with that? Cool. Keep it moving.
And then we can teach based on accountability.
Yeah.
And the exchange, and then we can say, okay, cool, you know what, you worked extra this weekend, so don't worry to put in the leave slip.
Yeah, I got you.
Or, we'll take your leave slip, but we're not going to add it to your
leave days.
We're not going to deduct it off your leave days because you worked extra. But I still need you to put in the leave slip, because I don't want you taking a day every 3 days, every week.
All of a sudden,
All of a sudden.
hey, this person's hardly here.
And, you know, especially in our organization where we're a training organization and a sales organization, so we don't see what left and right are doing.
No, it's always
So Barry's traveling all the time. It's like, oh, well, the boss is never in the office.
yeah, that could cause a problem. And then he'll come back and he's like, oh, I played such a great round of golf. And everybody's like, this guy's been playing golf for a week. What is going on? Are you on tour or what's the story?
And it's a case of the client that he was been trying to close said, come, let's go play golf. And so he's closing deals and people are going, sure, I'd love to have his job. He just plays golf all day, which is not the case.
No.
But it's,
Yeah.
if we're not clear on what the exchange is and what you're being held accountable for, it creates upsets.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're such an upset country. Nobody knows what we're holding.
Because we don't know what we're holding people accountable to or how to hold them accountable. You take the government, how do you hold, or your municipality, how do you hold them accountable to making sure you get electricity or your potholes are fixed? Or
I honestly don't know. They keep telling us about these numbers you can call, but people are always calling into the radio saying, I can't get you. There's never an answer.
And so this is the problem, is that where the exchange is out, but there's no way to hold people accountable.
And I feel like as people of this country, we're just adding to it, right? Because there's this, especially, and I know we talk about this a lot, from sales explosion to UGE. I don't think there's an event we don't talk about this. But the robots, it's a very simple system. It's not difficult. Not a hard system for people to follow.
Do you know, Barry says this, the robots, traffic lights, for those of you that are international.
Oh, yes. Sorry, we forgot
The
about
traffic lights
Yes.
for our international viewers when we say robots. The traffic lights, if they are not working, it should be a four-way stop.
Always.
If they are working, you should abide by what they say.
Yeah.
However, in South Africa at the moment, traffic lights or robots are just a suggestion.
Yeah, it's cautionary. Just, yeah.
So, and also the other favorite one that somebody pointed out to me the other day is when the light is red, you go forward as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And so by the time it's green, you're already across.
100%. Doesn't matter about everybody else who's going in the opposite direction to you.
So you go forward as far as you can. But to be fair, traffic lights are just a suggestion in this country at the moment.
100%. They might as well just be replaced by yield signs.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, wait, we don't even know about yield signs. That's a whole different.
I have to be honest, like, there is a traffic light. I leave home at 5 o'clock, well, 5:30 in the morning, between 5 and 5:30. And there is one traffic light that I stop at in the morning when it is red. And I literally sit there and go, please don't let someone hit me. Please don't let someone hit me. Because the cars go.
And it's a red robot.
And it's a red robot. And it's because the traffic lights are just a suggestion. And it's become scary because it's like, I don't know, should I go? Should I not? Should I stop? And
that's wild because you try to stick to the rules, the actual rules. But now there's the new set of rules that have been created. And now the way I'm understanding it is like you trying to figure out, wait, do I stick? Which rules do I play
but
by?
there's no accountability.
Yeah.
So there's
100%.
nobody enforcing the rules. And if they are, it's few and far between.
Too much. Too much.
So, you know, in New York, when Rudy Giuliani came in, the very first thing, the mandate that he gave every cop in the city was to go and to give tickets for all the small infringements. So if your shop had a broken window
Infringement.
or a cracked glass, they'd come, they'd give you a warning, and then they'd give you a fine. You had to fix it. And that is how he cleaned up New York City, by giving fines for all the smallest of infringements.
Because then you don't want to do the big ones.
Because if you clean up the small ones, the big ones will automatically clean up by themselves. Because people will follow rules. Because now there is accountability. And I found that fascinating because I didn't realize that's what Rudy Giuliani did when he went into New York. And it was actually, at the time, I owned a little laundromat, and the window was cracked, and an American came in, and he's like, oh, if this was in New York City, you'd get a fine. And I was like, really? And he explained the whole story. So but it's fascinating when you see, like, and that is one of the biggest problems in South Africa, is that there is no accountability for the small infringements.
No, I mean, and I hope this doesn't get us in trouble, but or get me in trouble. But I mean, something I've even noticed in the Joburg area, I see it a lot with the police. When there's traffic and they want to get out of the traffic, they turn their lights on. And now it's pretending like they've got to get somewhere. And I'm like, but that's not... My brain says to me that you are probably causing more of a problem than you think you're creating a solution. Because now you want to cut through the traffic and there's just nowhere to go. But because your lights are on, we're trying to respect you and respect the laws of the country, which is police get right of way if their things are on. But most of you aren't actually doing it for the right reasons.
Well, it's like the traffic lights are out. So also one of my favorites is the guys that stand at the traffic lights that sell, the vendors that sell things, the beggars or whatever they are. They now start directing traffic, and it's do you listen to them or not? Just because they found a pair of white gloves somewhere does not make them entitled to direct traffic, because most of them have never driven a car or understand the rules of the road or anything, but it looks good. They're white gloves. Come, go. And it...
You also ask that question.
But there's an out of exchange, and they are trying to fix something that is out of exchange.
Yeah,
because
big time. There
are no traffic cops that will come and do that. So they are trying to help, but essentially some people listen to them and some people don't. And then if you don't listen to them, you get hooted at by the person behind you because how come you're not going? But is it safe to go?
Yeah.
And it's, again, an out of exchange. And so, again, this is, like I say, a very
broad.
We have gone all over the place, from employees to
traffic lights
to government
to the white gloves.
But it's important to understand is, if I bring it back, it's, are you holding people accountable? And what are you holding them accountable to? Because going back to what you read, is 15% of leadership is actually reporting on what they hold people accountable to. I can almost guarantee you that 15% knows what they need to hold people accountable to.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to our sales team. I'm not interested in how much you sell. I want to know, are you doing the work? Because if you do the work, I know how to help you get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not interested, like if your sales target is 100,000 Rand, okay, I need to hold you accountable to making 50 phone calls a day, or visiting so many clients, closing so many deals. But if all I'm doing is saying, you haven't delivered on your 100,000, you're the problem, I'm not holding you accountable, because what is the actual deliverable? The deliverable is 50 phone calls. Where's your call sheet? Do you have a call sheet? Let me see the clients you went to. What did they say? And I think this is, I've seen it in terms of sales reps. Sales reps, no one's holding them accountable to the daily activities that they need to do on a daily basis.
It's at the end of the week.
The end of the week or the end of the month, they go, here you go. Like, are you teaching them? Are you follow them? Go and see what they do. Are they actually going to those places? Or are they just thumb-sucking numbers? So are you checking up? Are you phoning as the sales manager, did you phone the client and say, did my sales rep said they came to see you? Did they come and see you? Give me some feedback on them.
Yeah.
Did they do, how did it go? Did they ask you 10 questions? Did they show you out your product? You know, and you can do that with trusted customers. You can say, I'm going to send my new sales rep to see you. They don't know you're a customer. And you use it as teaching, not as an entrapment.
Yes.
You use it to teach.
I like that.
Because that's how you create exchange. You teach. And you do things. So the short version of this whole podcast is, are you clear on what you are holding people accountable to? Do you know what their deliverables are in order to reach their targets? Because most people know the targets, but they don't know the deliverables. And that's where employees go, yeah, but the leadership sucks.
Always. Has to be leadership's fault.
Well, we've got to blame somebody.
Yeah, I want to blame myself. That's crazy. Holding myself accountable.
I don't want to take ownership.
Never.
It's their responsibility to hold me accountable.
You own the business. It's on you.
Yes.
Don't make it my problem. I showed up to work.
Just pay me the money.
I came to work, didn't I? Monday to Friday I was there.
I gave you my time. Do you know that I could have been...
You know how valuable my time is? Well, you're useless, so your time is worth nothing as well. So here we are. And I think what you're saying is actually so spot on, and it's helped me a lot as well to understand that. And that it's again, I feel like on pretty much most episodes we talk about buzzwords. Accountability is such a big buzzword, but people don't understand. And the way you explain that is so spot on. What are you holding them accountable to?
What is the account?
What are you keeping account of?
Yeah, so if you think of accounting, it's a spreadsheet with numbers. When you hold people accountable, you'll need to count what is on their spreadsheet.
100%.
Because you are taking into account what they do. And people, and again, this is also, you'll hear me say it, do you understand the meaning of words?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, a buzzword is great, but we don't actually know what it means.
Yeah, and we hear about accountability a lot from politicians and government folks.
And exchange.
Oh, and the exchange and
Exchange rate.
I think that's the only exchange they know. Exchange rate, that's it. And everything else, well, we'll see how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. Thank you for listening, watching. No, you can only listen and watch it. You can't. Yeah, that's it. Listen and watch it. Download it if you want. Subscribe. Comment. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you guys are still getting value.
This is such a great topic on accountability. We'd love to get feedback from questions, comments.
Yeah.
Please do put
100%.
some questions or comments around accountability or exchange.
Yes, please. We'd love to know how you guys are implementing accountability in your business and your teams, but more importantly, how you're implementing accountability with yourself. Don't forget, this week we have Entrepreneur Hangouts at the Fat Ginger. $550 gets you in. It is the 8th of May. Yes, the 8th of May. 8:30 doors will open. Full breakfast, teaching, and just really being part of a community of people who really want to make a difference in their lives and their businesses and on this amazing continent of ours. But until then, if we don't see you at Entrepreneur Hangout, we will see you on the next episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Awesome.